whether it is visible or not, people with chronic illnesses are everywhere. We exist everywhere, including the music space. You guys on my Instagram and TikTok have noticed sometimes that I wear a brace when I play the oboe and have asked about it. Honestly, it's probably one of the most asked things that I get. And I like that because that means you're curious about that and we can talk about it. So today we are going to talk more in depth about this, about why I wear a brace. Spoiler alert, it's because of a chronic illness. And being a musician with a chronic illness. I have quite a few chronic illnesses. I have a bit of a list, but today we're going to talk about the one that affects my oboe playing the most, okay? Let's dive right in. So, the chronic illness that I have that affects my oboe playing the most is called hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And that's a lot of fun big words that basically mean that all my connective tissue in my body, so like all of the kind of tissue that keeps your bones together, keeps your muscles together, your ligament, like all of the things that keep other things together, they don't really work as well in me. What that means on the outside is that I'm like double jointed. It means that I can bend my wrists backwards and my thumb backwards and all of these things. On the inside, however, it means that I have a brain malformation. It means that my brain is falling out the back of my head, like the back of my skull. Yeah, it also means I have things to do with my heart that are bendy and my intestines are bendy, and that can cause issues, right? So I feel like with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome on the outside, it's like, oh, you can do these cool party tricks, but on the inside, there's a lot of issues, and including those issues, well, part of those issues is pain, right? I get a lot of pain, and that kind of leads us to the oboe side of it. So because my kind of joints can't really stay together, my muscles try to fix that. So like if my joint doesn't stay together and it's starting to come apart, the muscles around it will try to kind of hold it together, and they get really tight and they seize up. And when that happens, it's extremely painful and I can't really move that bit of my body. So my shoulders seize up constantly, like a lot. And when that happens, I can't move my head, I can't sit up. The weight of my head is so heavy on my shoulders because the muscles are trying desperately to keep my joints together. And that can affect my oboe playing. But from the idea of the brace, so I wear a brace on my wrist, and that is, it's on my wrist and my thumb. It's kind of like a whole thing that kind of comes up and covers part of my hand. And the reason for that is the weight of the oboe on my thumb and on my wrist mean that my joints in my thumb and sometimes my wrist start to come apart. And that's quite painful. It is quite painful when I play. I have this strange sensation in my thumb that things are coming apart, because they are, but it's really uncomfortable and it's really painful and it affects my oboe playing. And so the reason why I wear a brace is so that it's basically like an exoskeleton. It kind of helps my joints not have so much pressure on top of them from the oboe to that, and that helps them to kind of calm down a little bit, and it kind of eases some of that pain. So that's kind of the overarching thing about it. And you guys have asked me a lot of questions about this. And I thought, I've done some videos about it in terms of on Instagram and TikTok, but I was like, let's do a longer form thing about it, because the video, from doing that video, I got so many messages from people who also have either hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos or conditions similar to it. We, chronically ill musicians, are everywhere, and we kind of have just things that we just need to take care of, like me with my brace. This is just something part of my life. Playing the oboe, pain management is just part of playing the oboe for me. Now that, I just want to do a little side note, is chronic pain. It's not because I'm injured. I haven't gotten injured and that's why I have pain, but it's a chronic thing. This is just how my body works, right? So that's just kind of, there is a difference, and we will get to that, but that's important to note. So yeah. What do I do in my practice? Let's talk a little bit about how I manage it. So I do wear the brace. That's a big important thing to do for me, because that makes it so that I can practice for longer before getting in pain. I also take breaks. I do take quite frequent breaks. Some of these breaks are literally just 20 seconds, so my joints can kind of have some ease. Sometimes these breaks are longer, so let's say I've been playing for a while and I need like a 15-minute break, a 20-minute break if I really need that. Sometimes I need to like take, you know, a rest day. That's an important thing. If I wake up and my, like, sometimes with my chronic illness, you go through phases. So sometimes it's like, okay, I'm falling apart more, falling apart less, falling apart more, falling apart less, etc. And so from there, sometimes I'll literally just need to take a rest day, and that's perfectly fine as well. But taking those breaks whenever I need them, kind of doing my practice differently. So I might not be the oboe student or the music student to be in a practice room for 2-3 hours at a time. That's not me. My practice sessions tend to be much shorter because of this, but maybe more frequent. So it's kind of like that. That's kind of how it works. Having that break in between can be really helpful. So that's kind of how I do it with practice. More generally, advocating for your needs. This is such a kind of big idea, and sometimes it feels daunting. But asking for my needs, I think that's so important. If you are a musician with a chronic illness, or a person with a chronic illness, like, I mean, this podcast is about musicians, but you know what I mean. Like, if you have a chronic illness and you are in school, or you are in university or conservatoire, it is so important for the school and the institution to know about it. For me, at the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland, there is like a disability officer. I have a plan put into place so that I can have support, which is so amazing. These things, there are kind of programs and things to support students with chronic illnesses. It is important, if you do have a chronic illness, to look into that, whatever it is where you are, because, you know, it's so important to get support. And if something can be done differently, or like be taken care of in a way that's going to help you in your learning, that is so important. So advocating for my needs. For instance, if I am in a rehearsal, and I know it's going to be a long rehearsal, and maybe that day particularly I feel like, okay, you know, I'm really struggling with pain, I will tell whoever is in charge, or maybe I'll tell the conductor that, you know, I have this thing. If I need to, you know, take 10 minutes, 5 minutes to go for a walk, then that's gonna help me. The reason why, I just realized I haven't told you the reason why. Because my joints come apart, if I sit for too long, my bones literally start to come apart. Like, and my back just kind of relaxes, but in not a way it should. It just kind of, things come apart. That hurts. That really hurts. Like, sitting for too long, basically being in the same position for too long is quite painful. For me, sleeping can be painful if I don't move. So because my body is literally just, I'm like, you know, like when you see cats morph into shapes because things just kind of, they're like jelly. It's kind of like that. It's kind of just like joints and things just kind of come apart because they haven't been moved that often, and so, or that long. And so when I am sat in a rehearsal, especially, like, my back will start to really hurt because things are coming apart. And I it's kind of a support for me, for the people, like people, maybe not the entire orchestra, like we don't need that, but the conductor at least, maybe someone else who's there who's like running it or something like that, to know this. If I stand up and leave, it's not because I'm done with everything, it's just because I'm in pain and I need to stretch or just walk around a little bit. So advocating for your needs is super important, and it makes life better when you have support, seriously. The last thing I want to leave you with in this, I think this is an interesting episode because I feel like it's not really our regular episodes. Usually I'm talking about, you know, practice strategies and audition strategies and mindset, but this is a big part of my musical life and just life in general, dealing with these illnesses and navigating them. I think it's so important. And if you have a chronic illness, or maybe you think you do, that is so important to kind of look into that and support yourself and ask for support if you need it. So before we go, let's talk about what to do if you are experiencing pain, because there are two kinds of pain. Okay, the first kind is what we've been talking about, which is chronic pain. Okay, this is because you have a condition. I have hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. I am aware that my joints don't stay together. I am aware that this creates pain. I have been in pain my whole life. Like, I know this, right? This is not anything new. That is chronic pain. You can't really go, if you rest, it won't get better. Do you know what I mean? The other kind of pain is pain that you get from an injury. So if you are playing too much, you might get an injury. And that is different from chronic pain. That you should 100% listen to that in a different way than chronic pain. If you have pain from an injury, then you need to listen to it. You need to get support. It's so important. And don't like keep playing. Do you know what I mean? Like, take a break, take a rest. It's just like if you, I don't know, were running around and you fell and you twisted your ankle and your ankle really hurts. You don't get back up and run around and keep, doing whatever you were doing. You're like, ow, my ankle hurts. I'm gonna rest it. I'm gonna ice it. Things like that. That is pain from an injury. If you are experiencing pain from an injury, it is very different from chronic pain. And that is something that needs to be taken into consideration. And it is so important for you to ask for help with that. So if you are experiencing pain from an injury, please do ask for help with that. That is really important that you do not ignore that pain, okay? Today we talked about chronic pain, which is not from an injury, and also resting does not make it any better in the long run. So that is a difference, and I think it's so important to talk about that difference. Both need support, both need help, but different kinds. One will heal, one is chronic, okay? All right. I hope this episode was helpful for you. If you do have a chronic illness, we're twinning, I guess. If you have a chronic illness, or if you have experience with something like this, I'm so glad you listened to this episode, because it is so important to kind of bring awareness to this and also bring it into the conversation. I don't think, especially online, we are talking about this enough. So I'm glad that I was able to make this, and I'm glad that you were able to listen to it. I'm so grateful that you were here. All right. That is about it for this episode. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I am so grateful that you did. If you enjoyed this episode, please do like, subscribe, comment, share with your friends, with musician friends, someone you might think might need this. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you in the next episode. All right, take care. Bye-bye. Actually, can we just note, as I'm saying this, my wrist has come apart. I just tried to like turn off the audio, and my wrist just came apart as I brought it down. Fun times.